Hi. So I'm starting the podcast. So to be clear, I don't know where this is gonna go or if there's a theme yet. I don't know the kind of people I'm gonna be speaking with. But I know that one of the reasons why I started this podcast is because I enjoy talking to people, learning from them. You never know what you're gonna learn from someone's expertise, life experiences, or just simply being able to relate to what they've been through and think to myself, oh, I'm not alone. I'm going through this too. And then again, I have a lot on my mind. And I just want to share it with you guys. So I hope you follow me on this journey. Today, our first topic is going to be about something really, really deep. We know some people that are going through this, and unfortunately, some of us have either been through this or know someone that's gone through this as well. We're gonna go back to the beginning because it relates to the beginning when a child is conceived. So during conception, there's a zygote, which is the very first cell that is created. That is us. So that cell replicates and builds us into what we are today. So over time, from when you're a child to when you become an adult, you go from one single cell, which is the building block of your body, to about 1 trillion cells. And those cells repair themselves. They do what they're supposed to do. They have a lifespan. They do what they're supposed to do. They replicate and they retire. Okay, they die. Hey, so what happens when some cells go rogue and they stop following instructions and they just replicate uncontrollably? That is what cancer is. When cells don't do what they're told and they replicate uncontrollably, they create a mass in that area, or a tumor as you know it. So what a tumor does is that it creates a blockage. And that blockage is taking nutrients from your organs. It's taking oxygen from your organs. It's also a case where it can go through your circulatory system or your lymphatic system and go to other parts of your body and cause more harm. That's what they call metastasis. So cancer is heavy, cancer is horrible. And what used to be so devastating in the past, because of modern science and advancements in medicine, they have been able to identify it through screening and they're able to treat it now in many cases. I guess today is someone who can speak on a personal level about the fragility and the strength of life and dealing with cancer. Hi.
Hi, hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Chioma Elizabeth James. Welcome to Between Us. That's the name of the show, by the way.
Oh, that's a nice name.
Oh, yeah, for the rest of you guys, my name is Zelly, and I'm the host of Between Us. And this is my very first guest, Chioma Elizabeth James. And she'll be talking to us about her experiences. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So, my first question is going to be, what is chondrosarcoma? And can you explain what kind of cancer this is? And then can you also tell us what were your first thoughts the moment you were informed of your diagnosis?
From my understanding of what my doctors told me at the time, they told me it was cancer of the ligaments and bones. And my first thought when I was told I had cancer, I was actually alone with um, my doctor, the surgeon. When he told me, he first asked me, at the time I was married, so he asked me where my husband was. I said, oh, he just left, he went to work. He said, well, do you need to have family with you while I told you? I'm like, oh no, because I was really anxious. I really wanted to know what was wrong. So by that time, I was been in the hospital for a while, a few days, I think. If I remember, it's been a while though. It's been many years, 12 years ago. They just tell me, like, I really want to know, like, I can't wait. So he actually came close to me, sat down. I was lying on the bed. I sat up and he came close to me and he held my hand and said, you have cancer. To me, it was as if, like how in the movies where they tell you bad news, everywhere goes silent, the room shrinks, just like that. That's how I felt. Like it was kind of like an earth shattering news to me.
Okay, can you like how did you get how did you, what were your first symptoms? Like how did you end up in the hospital for you to even start undergoing tests in the first place?
I didn't know I had cancer growing my body for 7 years. My first symptom was when I was pregnant with my second son. My first son then was 2 years old. I think my due date was, let me say, my due date was on Thursday, and this was a Tuesday. My due date was 2 days after. I was lying down on the bed. My first son, he crawled on top of, I was lying, he crawled on top of me, and he was kind of like crawling. Then he used the elbow to like press me in the middle, the side of my body. I like screamed in pain, like, oh my goodness. So it was so painful, such a sharp pain. I I noticed throughout the day I couldn't stand up straight. I was in so much pain, and I was wondering why does it hurt so much? Like I was really confused. So I was really worried about um why I couldn't stand up straight. I couldn't like stretch myself, my body up straight. I was like bending forward because that's the only way the pain will go down if I bend forward. If I try to stretch myself up, I'll feel this sharp pain. Then I started praying because I'm a Christian person. So I started praying, God, please, help me for this pain to go away because I'm due in 2 days. How am I going to suffer through labor pains and have this pain? I can't even stand up straight. I was just praying throughout the day. And, my prayers were answered because for the end of the day, I felt much better and I was able to stand up straight. But I proceeded to have my baby. Everything was, going well. Then once in a while, I'll have like, an ache in that spot. And when you have babies, they'll tell you your body changes, you may have aches and pains here and there. I felt maybe it's part of like having babies, like, that's part of the sacrifice of having kids, right? I just have to manage it and, walk through it. So throughout, this was in 2010 that I had my second baby. So throughout from 2010 to 2013, I'll have aches in that spot. Sometimes I would have like kind of like bubbling sensation, like popping. I don't know how to describe it. It just felt like you're popping bubbles at my side. It felt very odd. Then towards sometime in 2013, or no, actually in 2012 when I was lying down in bed one day, I felt this like pain at my on my back. I had severe back pain, and I was wondering why am I having severe back pain. I couldn't even get up that morning. I got then I was still married. My ex-husband too really helped me like use some ointment to rub my back to reduce the pain. I'm like, oh, and at that time I felt kind of like a little bit annoyed because I took some time off from work to spend with my family, and then I'm lying in bed. Like I'm like so and my mom was coming to visit at that point. I'm like, I can't wait for my mom to come. Maybe she would, help me with the kids. I can, take some time for myself. So my mom came to visit that end of that year. Um, then I think my body was telling me there's something wrong. It started ramping up the signs. The problem with my that I had was I didn't have acute pain in the location of the cancer, right? It was kind of like sending signals, pains all over my body. So that's where the problem was. The
At
pain.
what point? Sorry,
You too.
sorry. I just want to know at what point did you know that? You know what? I think this is not
It's
normal.
a build up. It's a build up, right? So I have to build it up because it didn't happen in one day. So sometimes the ache would go to my breast. I went to my doctor. They did the mammogram, breast exam. They couldn't find anything. The pain went to my back. I went to the doctor. They checked nothing. I kept going to the doctors. Like I even went to my. I think I went to my doctor twice. He checked nothing. He couldn't find anything. I went to a walking doctor. He checked. They couldn't find anything. Then at the point I was in the office one day, I heard my colleagues talking about a chiropractor that's really good, but my back was really aching me. Like I don't know, it's a deep ache. It wasn't pain, but a deep ache from my back. Sometimes it go to my back, sometimes it go to my breast, sometimes it go to my side, different parts of my body. I went to the chiropractor and he said, "Oh, let's do an X-ray of your back." They did an X-ray. He said you have a spray strain. He did his work on me. He finished his work that day. I couldn't even stand up from his table to go to my car. I started praying, God, please give me strength to drive to my car to drive home because where I went was very far from where I lived. It was in the southwest, the end of the southwest. I lived in the northwest. I kept praying throughout this journey. What gave me, strength is praying. Like I kept praying, God, please help me. I always called to God, please help me. And he always answered. I drove back home. Then I remember 3 weeks before my diagnosis, I had my period and I was still seeing blood in my urine. When I see blood, I see kind of like some particles. Later, I found out those were bone fragments. That was but by that time, I didn't know what it was. I'm like, is it part of the um my period thing coming? Like it was so confusing. And like I have different signs, right? And I even told my doctor at that time, like I see blood in my urine, and he asked me when I had my period. He said maybe it's just residue of the period. So the main thing that happened, I always liken it to like I always tell this story like my own was kind of like it was just like something that just happened like you I was liking to Paul on his way to Damascus when he was going to persecute the Christians, and Jesus said, "What, Paul? Why are you persecuting me?" That's how I felt like I got arrested. It's an arresting moment. So one day I was at work. I have this kind of like stressful job. I have clients calling. I feel stressed. I was on my desk. I just talked to a particular difficult, no, I won't say difficult client, but had a client had a difficult situation. I felt really, really a lot of emotional sympathy for these clients, what they're going through, and that was impacting me in my own mental health. I felt so drained, and all of a sudden, all the pain and ache came all at once. Remember, all these signs were like different parts of my body. Sometimes my back, my breast, my side. That particular day, all the pain came together. My back was on fire, my side was on fire, my breast was on fire, everything was on fire. I was so overwhelmed with the pain that I couldn't even move. I felt I was going to pass out. And of course, I started doing what I do best, praying. I started praying, God, please help me. I'm really worried. I can't even get up from my desk. I felt I was going to pass out at one point. I said, praying, please, I don't want to pass out because I'm worried that if I pass out, I'm gonna like fall, hit my head somewhere. Nobody's gonna come and find me. My fear of being alone in that office was so genuine that it was so genuine. I could feel it, right? I couldn't even move for some reason, but I could hear people leaving. People were leaving. The office was a Friday because Friday people are like leaving early, right? Everybody wants to start their weekend early. People were leaving the office. I could hear people going off, putting off their lights. I'm like, I couldn't even move. I'm like, God, am I going to be in this office all by myself over the weekend? Who's going to find me? I was so worried. I had so many thoughts. At that time, I shared one car, my ex-husband. I'm usually the one that'll pick them up from the office because my kids were going to daycare. The daycare was in his office downtown. I usually go pick them up. We come back home together. I'm like, who's going to pick up my kids? They'll be left in the daycare. Nobody. I can't call anyone for help. And I kept up going, please give me strength to move. I couldn't even move for some reason. Luckily for me, at that point, my phone was on. Luckily too, because nothing really happened. But anyway, my phone was very close to my hand, so I reached out to my phone. My ex was the last person I talked to. I dialed his number. He was saying hello, hello, hello. I couldn't even speak. He thought I called him by accident. He cut off the phone. My panic said even increasing. He can't even come and help me. Oh my God.
So
Oh my
why
God.
did you call 911?
I don't know. that that I was like, oh my God. So at that point, I was just waiting and praying, God, please intervene, please help me. So he sent help. One of my colleagues passed my office. I'm like, okay, there's still someone. I tried to call out to her, right? At the time, I thought I was whispering, but later she told me I was screaming her name. I'm like, hey, I need help. I need help. I thought I was whispering, right? So at first, she told me later she didn't want to answer me, like, why am I just there screaming her name? I can't just walk up to her and tell her what I want to tell her. But she said I was so insistent that she came back. And as soon as she saw me, she saw I look gravely ill. She rushed to me. I'm like, what's wrong? I said, I can't move. I can't move. So, and my fears were actually legitimate because really everybody has left the office. It was just her and two other supervisors. The reason why they were still there because they got a late call. Can you imagine that? I was really going to be alone in that place.
But
The
you
only
could have
reason
called 911 though. I
I
don't
couldn't, I couldn't,
understand.
I couldn't, I couldn't talk. Remember, I tried to
Oh,
call my ex.
Okay.
My hands were working, but I couldn't really talk. For some reason, I couldn't. And that's why I call it an arrest,
Okay.
because God wanted to like intervene that day. Nothing else mattered. I think He wanted it to happen that way, because if it hadn't happened that way, I probably would have been diagnosed. Because I've been going to the doctor. Remember, I've gone to the doctor up to like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
They did a mammogram. They did X-ray. They've done. Nobody could find what was wrong with me. So she rushed out, called the other supervisors. They came rushed to me, so I was ill, asking me questions. I couldn't even talk. Someone said, oh, call her husband. They called him. He said, call 911, right? They called 911. 911 came, checked my blood pressure. Oh, it's extremely high. You need to lie down on the gurney. I'm like, no, I'm in so much pain. I'm in so much pain. So they couldn't even lie me down, flat to reduce my blood pressure. They had to lie me like sitting upright, because then the pain on my side was so severe. It was as if like I was on fire, because I've never really felt pain like that. It was mostly ache, ache, ache all these years.
Yeah.
Finally, it was pain. Like I think all my body registered all the pain together. Before it was
Okay.
different sections of my body, right? So now everything came out once. I was on too much of my body to take, so my blood pressure went up. So they took me to the hospital. I was there for a very long time. They did a lot of tests, ECG, also all manner of tests they did on me that
Okay.
night. So I saw, like, it was emergency hospital, right? So you get to
Hmm.
see different doctors on call. I
Okay.
think saw about 3 different doctors that night, because I was there from like, I think I got there about 6 p.m. till 12
Hmm.
midnight. At the point, the last doctor that saw me said, when he listened to my story about my ache and everything, he said, do you know what? Come back in the morning for ultrasound, right? At 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. for ultrasound. Meanwhile, I was still there till like 12:30 a.m., right? So by the time I go home, it was already 1:30 a.m. I had to quickly go back to the hospital at 6:30 a.m. to do my ultrasound. While I was lying down there on the ultrasound table, and the technician put his machine, I could see the blob. It looked like a blob on the ultrasound, a blob sticking out of my ribs. I'm like, what is that?
Even to
And
your
he said,
untrained eye, you could tell
yes,
there
with
was,
my
there was
trained eye, it looked
something.
like a blob. I'm like, what is that? And he said, oh, it looks like a cyst. I don't know. Maybe your doctor would explain to you what it is, right? And so, do you know, after I got done my tests and they sent it to the doctor, I didn't leave the hospital for like 2 weeks. They admitted me immediately.
They didn't let you go home.
They didn't let me go home. They admitted me immediately and started running tests, all kinds of tests. Um, the first of all, took my blood every hour. It seems to me, if I remember, I might
Hmm.
be mixing it up. They did I think they had a CT scan done. They had a um PET scan. I had a PET scan as
Hmm.
well done. Then um they did an invasive thing where they put a camera. They opened me up from the back. I put a
Hmm.
camera to see the damage that was there.
So was that like an exploratory surgery?
I wouldn't say it's a surgery. It's to see how much damage. I
Okay.
think they knew I had cancer, but because they didn't tell me, they
Hmm.
wanted the oncologist to confirm it. Like when they would do their tests, they took a tissue sample from the
Hmm.
site that they saw the damage and sent it for testing. Before then, actually after then, actually, they told me I was functioning with only one lung. That my other lung has actually they told this was after they told me I had cancer. Okay, so they did all these tests. Then my doctor now broke the news to me, say you have cancer, and I had all that movie style kind of experience. The light dimming, like dim, like the room became smaller. It's a chattery news. Then he said brace for. I said, so how bad is it? You know what he told me? He said brace for the worst.
For real?
Yes. He told me this because they've already done that exploratory thing where they put the camera. At the time when he told me this news, they saw like splatters all over my chest area, which they wasn't sure was cancer or not. They saw spots on my liver, which they weren't sure was cancer or not. by then the cancer had already taken two of my ribs, right? They didn't see two ribs, it was already gone.
So
Um,
I'm gonna ask you a question. Aside from the pain, did you have any other symptoms looking back?
mm, no, the only symptoms were the ache, the bubble sensation on my side. When I climbed up the stairs, I was out of breath because at that time I was only functioning in one lung because he said that the cancer was going to my lung area and the lung, the cavity, the chest and the lung cavity, the space in between. I don't know the medical term, filled with fluid to protect the cancer from going to my lungs, and the fluid collapsed my right lung because the he said the fluid was over 1 liter. So I was working with all that fluid in that space, and my lungs were, flattened out, and it was only one lung. So that's why I was always like tired doing things. Um, yeah, that's the only symptom, and then the blood in my urine. That was
What
3 weeks after my period. I was still seeing blood in my urine. So those are the
what
only symptoms I had here.
what do you mean by you already lost two ribs?
So when they opened me up, there was no two ribs were missing already. They've so when I use pee and I see fragments in the toilet, those are the bone fragments that my body's getting rid of through my urine. So it's kind of like decimated the bones.
So the
There's no,
cancer was eating, was basically destroying your bones.
it had 7 years to do that job, right? Like it's already taken out two ribs, and the other rib on top was already infected. So they had to take out. So two ribs they were already gone, and then the two ribs below and above, those ones they had to take them out because they had some signs of. The one on top had some signs, not the one at the bottom, but they just took both of those out, just to be on the safe side.
So maybe that's what the pain was. Your ribs were basically, your bone was basically being destroyed.
Yeah, it was being destroyed. Plus my diaphragm, a portion of my diaphragm too. It has already infected. The cancer has already infected it as well. So it took out a portion of my diaphragm as well.
So when it comes to cancer, from what I know, just reading generally, is the fact that sometimes it can be caused by genetics, or it can be environmental factors, or lifestyle choices, or just luck of the draw. You never know; it might just happen to any. It can happen to anyone. Did they tell you that something caused your cancer?
No, actually asked that question. They said is I was just unfortunate. This is not the first time I'm hearing that thing in my life. When I lost, I had this stillbirth so many years ago. I was told the same thing. It's just an unfortunate situation. So when I started reading about bone cancer, I read that it doesn't show any symptoms until you break a bone. My bone, as it happens to be, was the ribs that was taken out. And because I don't really I'm not moving around with an arm or a leg, probably I wouldn't have felt it.
Mm-hmm.
If it was somewhere else where I was using often, maybe they'd have been able to discover it faster. But this was something I wasn't like a bone, like your arm or your leg that you have to
Yeah.
use to move around, right? Yeah.
Well, you hadn't noticed yet, at least in that way of, function. No, you could feel the pain, but in terms of function, you hadn't noticed yet.
Yes, I guess.
Okay, so I want to go back to when you got the news. You're a mother of young children. You were married, and you had your whole family and everything. So that must have been hard. How did you share the news with your family?
Hmm. That's a difficult news to share with anyone. I had to call my ex-husband on the phone and tell him. Um, he was, of course, worried about it, scared, especially when they say prepare for the worst. Because at that time they thought it spread everywhere. They thought it actually spread to my chest cavity and my lungs. Sorry, my liver and even my lungs, because they saw some spots too on my lungs, but it wasn't cancer. So yeah, everybody was worried and scared. And my mom too. I told my mom over the phone because then I was still in the hospital, right? I didn't leave for 2 weeks. She was worried, but she said, "Do you know what?" The first time she told me was, yes, it's a devastating news, but do you know what? I'm not ready. I have faith that you're gonna beat this," and that's how I felt too. And my kids were really small. Kion was 5, I believe. Akina was 3. So I didn't tell them over the phone, of course, because they're really small. I had to, like tell them, "Mommy's not feeling well. I have to go have surgery." They wouldn't really understand the concept of surgery, right? Because they're really young. But the thing is that, like I told you, like earlier, that this journey was about always praying. And I felt like if the cancer had been growing in my body for 7 years, it could have killed me, right? 7 years is a long time. Because the cancer I think they said it was a grade 2 cancer. Um, and God gave me so many signs that I was ill, right? So many signs. And I couldn't comprehend what the signs were. And the doctors couldn't comprehend what the signs were. Because I did go to the doctor and say, "I'm seeing blood in my urine." Um, but he gave me multiple chances to save me. And until, like I say, he arrested me that day. "You're not going to move today. Today is the day you're going to get the diagnosis. Today is the day someone's going to discover what's wrong with you," right? And kept me immobilized for hours. Like I was sitting on my desk in my office, and I couldn't move for hours. I felt like passing out, and I've been praying, "God, please, I don't want to pass out." For hours, he kept me immobilized. Like I got this call from that parent at, I think, around 2 p.m. And I was sitting in my chair until like 4:30 p.m. or 4:45 p.m. That's a long time to sit still, worried, scared.
Mhm.
And I just had faith that if he has taken this much time to invest in me, to tell me, "Hey,
Mhm.
you're going to get this help today," then that means something. That means not going to just take my life. Like my life's not just going to go like
Mhm.
that, because he's taking all this time to show me, then taking one day to really arrest me and put me in one place. I felt like there's a reason.
Okay. Can I
Yeah.
ask you? I want to know. You had faith in that you were going to get through it, but as a parent of young children at the time, what was the thing that you struggled with the most in telling your family, in breaking this news to them?
Mm. Um, I was concerned about them being scared and worrying about my mortality, right? Because yeah, being faced with your mortality, are you gonna live or you're gonna die? Because remember, the first thing the doctor told me was brace for the impact, because it looks really bad. Like, be prepared for the worst case scenario. That's what he told me. That's what his example. Prepare for the worst case scenario. And I'm like, I actually told the doctor that there won't be a worst case scenario. I will not be a worst
Yes,
case scenario.
that's
I actually
great.
told him, yeah, I actually told him, "How many people have survived this cancer?" He said, "Well, that usually older people that get it. So I'm one of the youngest he has seen." I can't remember the statistic he told me. I'm like, "Do you know, yeah, I'll beat it." Like I just had this feeling. I wouldn't say that I wasn't scared. I was terrified. I wouldn't lie to you. I was terrified. But at the same time, I had peace that I would beat it. I had that two feelings simultaneously happening to me. So I was worried about my family being upset about it, being, worried I was going to die painful, slow death, because it's a painful process, right? And it's not something that's going to happen immediately if it's going to kill you for my particular situation. And they're worried about the surgery because they told me I have to do surgery to take it out, right? So we're worried about that, surviving surgery as well. So
So basically, it doesn't seem like you didn't have to undergo chemotherapy treatment, correct?
no, I saw the oncologist, excuse me, and he said he doesn't think I need radiation or chemotherapy because the cancer was localized in that spot, because they did the PET scan and all those scans to see if it spread. So miraculously, it was still localized in my ribs and my diaphragm. The spot on my liver was overgrown cells. The spot on my lung was something I inhaled when I was 10 years old. I went there and stuck there.
For real?
I'm telling you, seriously. They had to like snip that out. Then the trauma on my chest wall was, when I was younger, I cough a lot. Like I'm very sensitive to dust and environmental, things in the environment. Like if there's any kind of like dust or pollution, I'm gonna be coughing. So all that too much cough caused a lot of blood splatter on my chest wall. So they found out it wasn't cancer; it was just blood splatter due to trauma of constantly coughing, coughing, pollution, right? So, yeah. So they say it'll just localize it. So I just needed surgery to take it out.
Okay.
And
So
they're gonna do some reconstructive surgery where they have to rebuild my diaphragm from tissue, from my body.
So can you tell me, like, as a mom at that time, do you think that the diagnosis you had at that time had changed your priorities that you had in life? Did you see things differently?
I wouldn't say change my priorities because my priorities have always been about family, relationship, communication, affection, being very open about how you show love and connection with people, right? That has always been my personality. So if I didn't have that personality, then I probably would have maybe be the kind of person I want to show appreciation for life, for people, for making memories. I've always been that way. So it just kind of like enhance my personality that I already have about family, communication, relationship, memories, all those things. Telling people that you love them, being present in their life, being intentional about how you love people, right? I've always been that way. So you just enhance it. If I wasn't that way, probably that would have encouraged me to start being intentional about people that I love and showing to them now in the present instead of waiting for whoever, whatever.
So can you identify, I want you to identify 2 days for me. The first would be the most difficult day that you had during your treatment, and the second will be the day that you had the most hope going through that.
uh The most, can I give three answers?
Of course.
uh, the most difficult day, I had two most difficult days. The first one was being wheeled in surgery. I have this irrational fear that if I get put on there, I'm not going to wake up. I guess it's too much watching uh,
Movies.
Grey's Anatomy. I was so scared. I'm like, God, am I going to wake up? Please let me wake up, please. I was so scared. I was shaking. They wheeled me in. I said, God, please, let me just wake up. Please. Even if they don't take this in out, please just let me just wake up. I don't want to die. You know? I was
That's
so
a
scared.
valid fear, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really
Very
scared that
legitimate.
yeah. And I was praying, God, I was scared about it, right? And when they put you under, it's very quick. You know, that's one of the most difficult. That fear of not waking up. I'm praying, God, forgive me all my sins, all those things, right? You want to make heaven. And I was worried about my children too. Like, I had to consider
Yeah.
just in case this is what I want. Say, oh, don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. I'm like, this is what I want. I want my children to be loved or to like I had. She didn't want me to listen to me, right? But I still had that conversation just in case. Then another difficult moment was when I woke up. The first thing I felt was relief. I was, thank you, God, I'm awake. Thank you, Jesus. Oh my God, I made it after 10 hours. Thank you, God. Oh God, I was so grateful. I wouldn't even lie. Ah, I was so grateful. Then the audience journey of it felt like somebody knocked you out of park. Like it was such a painful thing when they collapse your lung for 10 hours. Then you have to start learning how to breathe again. That is very painful. Very painful. I couldn't walk from even take one step. Like that was one of the most painful things. Not being able to breathe properly and learning how to breathe again. So those are the two most painful mm, experience. What was the second question again?
Actually, you kind of answered it because I asked you what was the one thing that gave you the most hope because you were so terrified, and then when you woke up,
Um,
you were
oh,
so relieved.
I guess I have two hopes. I have two hope. The first one was when he told me I had cancer. Even though I had that movie like emotional reaction, they felt that somebody dimmed the lights, felt that the room became smaller, and all that movie kind of like reaction that I see in the movies that I had in real life. I still had hope that so what? Yeah, uh-huh. Um, well, I'm here through a miracle because if he hadn't arrested me in my office, then I'll be here. So it's left to you to do your job then. Take it out. So I had hope. Even though I was scared shitless that day, I still had hope that I'm not gonna die. Even he's telling me brace for the worst. No, I'm not dying anytime soon. Who's gonna look at my
But
two children?
later, girl.
Yeah, who's gonna look at my two children? I'm still gonna be there and looking after them. Like so two hopes that day and the surgery when I woke up and thanking God. Like I had tears in my eyes. I'm like, I made it. Oh my God. I was so grateful. Like, yeah, yeah.
So it sounds like you had like your whole family around you, but what would you say, what was your support system like to help you through this?
Oh, I had great support system. You know, everybody rallied around me, friends, family, everyone, right? So of course we were scared that I might not survive it. We were rallying around me, friends. People were bringing food to the house, calling, visiting, praying and praying and praying. People even had prayer groups for me. I felt so much love. Oh God, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I think the biggest thing people need when they are going through something is support. That made a whole lot difference because it gave me so much oomph in my struggle. Like listening to Christian music,
Mm-hmm.
like listening to Christian music, I can't even describe what that gave to me. Even though the doctor is telling me brace for the worst, I don't know if you're gonna survive this. But my Christian music that I'm listening to is telling me something different. That's actually where I drew my strength from. Because I couldn't even bring myself to pray as much as I would have loved because I was afraid. Like it's two emotions simultaneously, fear and hope working together, right? And when I'm afraid about am I gonna survive, and then I listen to my Christian music, I'm like, yes, for sure. No other choice. So yeah, listening to Christian music, support from family and friends were really instrumental in giving me that believe that I'll survive. Remember, they told me brace for the worst, like you might
I'm
likely
not
die from
really
this.
sure what that means when they say that, but I understand what it means, but I don't know how, what we're supposed to do. Anyway, I know that you mentioned that your mom was around and she was a big part of this. Can you
Hmm.
tell me if you experienced your mom in a different way when this happened?
Um, yes, my mom, even though she was praying and having faith, she was deeply afraid. Because I have friends that will come and visit and say your mom looks as aged. She's really aged. Um, I guess like for her too, it's the same experience, hope and fear simultaneously, right? She was praying and you know talking to family members that are really deep in the faith that can see and telling her, oh, Chima is going to survive. Don't worry about it. But at the same time, she's aging from worry. Do you understand? She she's crying to God to save her child, not sleeping properly, not eating properly, really wrecking her physical form, right? We worry to the point where she's aging and looking, really stressed out. So she was really worried about my mortality. I guess maybe even more worried than me because I don't think I was losing any weight.
Well, you're her child. You're her child, and it just goes to show that a
Mhm.
diagnosis like that not only impacts the person involved, but as, most times the people around them that love them the most. It can be like
Yes.
just as devastating, I think.
Yeah, I think she was the one that was impacted negatively more by it because even though I was worried, I was still like thinking, yeah, I'll be all right. I think probably if I could have more because I don't I think I lost any weight during. I'm like, if I don't lose any weight during this try time, man, there's no hope for me. So
So, did you lose any weight?
I don't think so.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, a win is a win. Well, tell us about recovery, remission after the surgery. Yeah, at what point did you realize that it was gone, it was done? And what do you have to do now and years after to make sure that you're checking, to make sure that you're doing tests and just to monitor things in general?
So after the surgery, I had to do physio to learn how to breathe again, to walk, to exercise my lungs to full capacity, right? And that was a difficult journey. Before my surgery, my surgeon told me, "Well, you're gonna be in your recovery might be a very long recovery because not only did they remove the cancer. They had to do reconstructive surgery. Took did some tissue transplant from my stomach to my the other side where the surgery side. I had some like drain pipes from my back draining fluid. Like it was very intense. And I was in so much pain that even the epidural wasn't working. It was really painful process. So, but I only spent, I think, about 10 days in the hospital, or no, 8 days, because he told me, oh, prepared for staying there for a long time, like to be a slow recovery. So everything was a miracle. The find out I had cancer was a miracle, waking up from 10 hours of surgery, miracle, surviving it. Even the post surgery, I only spent 8 days as opposed to months that I thought I could stay there.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, my lungs came back to full capacity too, right? With the physio and everything. And they even told me I might need donor tissue, which they use. I think they use that too. Then they said they could use a mesh to rebuild my diaphragm, and that my body might reject it. Miraculously, they didn't need to use a mesh. They had enough material from some part of my body they used for that. So everything was just a miracle, just smooth sailing, smooth sailing. I came out from the hospital. So they said, okay, you have to do CT scan once a year to check that, there's no reoccurrence, right? No metastasis, no like thing coming back, right? So I did CT scan for I think 5 years because it's been 12 years now. Because my surgery was in 2013. So I did a CT scan once a year, every year for 5 years, I think, or 6 years. Then there was no reoccurrence. So my surgeon said, okay, let's change it to X-ray because CT scan, the thing they give you for the contrast carries on cancer risks too, right? So let's
it
change it
does.
to
Yeah.
yeah, let's change it to um um X-ray, right? So I was doing X-ray up until I had my last X-ray last year, but they haven't. He said he was well, my surgeon, my heart surgeon. He um thoracic surgeon. He retired last year, so he did my final X-ray. I saw him last year. Was it last year or this year? My memory is so bad. I think it might be this year. I had my last X-ray. Yeah, it's this year. So he said he's gonna um transfer care for my care to my family physician, and then my family physician can decide if he wants to continue doing the X-ray. I don't have to do it because it's been 12 years and nothing has reoccurred. But that's it would be nice if I wanted to continue just to check. So I haven't had a discussion with my family physician to say, hey, are we going to continue doing this X-ray or not? I haven't had that discussion. He says it's up to me to decide if I want to continue, but he doesn't really see the need. But if it was still my caring doctor, if he wasn't retired, he
Mhm.
probably would have been doing it, but he's not really sure. But nothing has occurred for 12 years. So I guess I have to have a discussion with my family doctor to see what he says.
Okay. So basically, I just noticed something about the fact that cancer, people that suffered from cancer are the only ones basically that are called survivors. And I'm not sure why that is the phrase that is used for solely for cancer survivors. What would you say the word cancer survivor, the phrase cancer survivor, what does that mean to you?
Um, I think people use survival for different things. I I think they use survival for different. If somebody survives something, although maybe like you said, they don't say cancer, they don't say whatever survival. what they call people that survive any kind of trauma survivors, right? Well, yeah, you're right. I guess it's only cancer survival. Well, survival for me means um because obviously it's a trauma, right? That you've been through and you've overcome that trauma, and now it's in your past. So you have survived that trauma. And surviving it not just only means surviving the disease, but trying to live your life with this chance that you've been given, this second chance at life. I've basically been given a second chance at life, right? So what am I doing with that? Am I going to live my life to the fullest, to enjoy it, to show my gratitude for it? So that's how I see it. How am I living my life post cancer surgery? Am I living my life to the fullest, true to myself, to my authentic self, and for those around me too, right? How am I treating them, right? So that's how I see it. How am I living my life now, different from in my past? Like I said earlier, I'm living a similar life. I've always had this belief that enjoy life to your fullest as much as you can, love very hard those around you, enjoy every opportunity given. So that's kind of, because the life is short, right? It just lets you know that your mortality is questionable, right? You don't know when it's your time to go. So seize life and enjoy it. So that's how I see it.
Is there one thing that you learned about yourself due to your experience?
Um, I always saw myself as one kind of like a weak person. Not weak like mentally. I felt like I
Yeah.
was strong mentally, but being physically, right? Like, but I'm like, do you know I'm stronger than I thought. Like I thought, like, because I don't really, I'm ashamed to say exercise often
That's fine.
to
We
make
all
myself,
are.
to be physically
It's
strong
hard.
and withstand pain and all those things. But do you know what? I surprised myself, like, wow, so I'm this strong. So the mental strength seeped into the physical, right? Because, it's not easy to be in pain. Like when after my surgery, I was in pain 24/7. Like pain because of the pipes that were put on my back to drain the fluid. It was extreme. Like I couldn't find any relief. And then it now occurred to me, so this is what people that are always in pain feel. I understood it. But pain, constant pain feels like when there's no relief. Walking around doesn't give you relief. Taking medication doesn't give you relief. Being engaged in something else to distract yourself doesn't give you relief. I'm like, wow, that's a horrible way to live. You know? Yeah, it just made me feel more empathy for people that are going through such, more understanding what they are going through. Like, so if someone's telling me they're in constant pain, I get it. Before I didn't get it. Like, what do you mean by constant pain? How is that possible? But now I get it because I got to experience it.
Do you think that there are misconceptions about people that are suffering from cancer that other people have?
Like, what kind of misconceptions?
Like things that we don't understand because we've never either not experienced it or we don't know people who have experienced it.
I think my answer to that is that people have different experiences with cancer. People have different journeys. So somebody, let me say breast cancer might look different on this person, on this person, on that person. So it's an individualistic journey. Your body responds differently. People's body respond differently. So I wouldn't say it's a misconception. It's about trying to understand each person's individual journey because it will look different. Like I had the contrastascoma might look different on someone else. Because I was put in a room with people, a recovery room, people that had different kinds of cancer. Some of them had lung cancer, some of them had recurring lung cancer. They all look different. They all seem different. They all have different experiences of their journey. So it's, I think it's about understanding um about people's different journey. But the main theme about it is that it's very important to have support. And it's very important to have something that you believe in, a faith. because
That
it's a very, very scary, scary. Like even till today, when I go to do my CT scan or my X-ray, I had to go to the same hospital that I had my surgery. I feel like the only person in the whole wide world because I'm going alone from those appointments. I can't really tell someone to come and go with me because it's during the work day. People are working, right? And
yeah.
just a routine check. But still, that trauma hasn't left me. I still feel like I'm the only person in the whole wide world when I go to this appointments. The feeling of loneliness is so abject, it's so strong. And it's just a routine check. I went out during my journey, I wasn't alone. I had people supporting me. But sometimes you're walking alone, like I'm going to this appointment by myself. I feel so alone. So I believe it's about having a support system and having something that you believe in to give you that strength because it's a very kind of like lonely journey that you're taking. I think that's what everybody has in common, I believe. Um,
You
so
basically
yeah,
answered the next question I was gonna ask you.
yeah.
The question was if you were to speak to someone that was going through this right now, or know someone that's going through this right now, what would your advice be to them?
Yeah, my advice would be like, who's your support system? You know, who's your support system? Who do you rely on? Who can you talk to? It could be as simple as going with someone for an appointment. Like that means a lot. What's your faith? You know, that would that would play a big role. Um, because it's not everybody that has good news. You understand? I had good news. It's not everybody that has good news, right? How do those people cope? Those people that don't have good news, how do they cope? What do they do? Right? It's a very devastating disease that have taken a lot of lives. Children lost parents, like parents lost children. Like it's a devastating disease, right? So it's very individual, right? What's your support system? What's your faith-based system? Who are you going to rely on? Because every journey will look different for everyone, right? What if my diagnosis was terminal? What would I have done? Right? But my approach would be different, right? But they didn't say that it was terminal. They just said prepare for the worst, right? But still, I still had faith that I was gonna survive it. But what if people that still have faith that will survive and they don't survive? What do you say about that, right? So it's a very individual journey. You can't really say this is misconception or tell someone how they're gonna do this, right? It all depends. But one thing that is important is to have a support system because it's a very lonely journey.
This is my last question for you today.
Okay.
When you're going through something like that, when you're going through like really hard times like what you went through, sometimes you go through the 5 stages of grief. And then I'm more interested in talking about the third step, which is bargaining. Was there any point where you bargained to say, for example, "Oh God, if you help me through this, I'm gonna do so, so and so." Just try to make a deal to make sure that you get what you want. And just between us girls. I just want to So I just want to know if there's something that you try to bargain with at that time.
Yeah, for me, I don't think I did any bargaining because remember, I had faith that I'll be healed, right? I didn't think that I was gonna die, so I didn't think I was gonna be bargaining anything. I just saying to God, God, you brought me this far. You make sure it was found out. You have a purpose for me, right? There's a purpose for me for to do this. You know, when I survive this, whatever purpose you wanted for me in my life, please fulfill it. I'm ready. I'm open. Use me to do your will, right? So I didn't have any bargain. I'm sure my mom did.
I'm sure she did.
I'm sure she did, you know, because she told me she really suffered a lot of mental, emotional turmoil, seeing me, you know, suffering like that. I'm sure she did a lot of bargaining. I think she even mentioned it, but I can't remember. It's such a long time ago. I don't remember what she said. She told God, if my child survived. I said, but you didn't do that. I was going to survive anyways. Like, it's already a done deal, right? So it was just a matter of time.
So no bargaining, no making
No,
deals.
no, no deals because I felt like I've survived already. That's the way I was seeing it. I felt like I've survived. It's just a matter of my life is just gonna be a testimony. So I guess one of the things happened that I thought my brain was I'm not gonna hide because I come from a culture where people hide this kind of thing. They don't like talking about it openly. So I felt like, do you know I'm gonna talk about it openly. I'm not gonna hide my experience. It's gonna be an open thing. So that somebody else will hear about it and learn from it. I'm going to be very open about my experience. I'm not going to hide it. Why should I hide it? It's my journey. I have a right to talk about my journey. I have a right to share my journey. And it's going to affect somebody in a positive way, so be it, right? So I actually felt, I guess maybe that's kind of like, I won't say it's a bargaining, but in my mind, I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to shout it from the rooftops, Lord, how you saved me, right? I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to be embarrassed by it. I'm going to still have a heart of gratitude and tell the whole wide world what you've done for me. So that's why I always tell my story very slowly. I talk about how, God arrested me and put me in one spot. I talk about it because seriously, that's what I believe. I believe in my being that that's what happened for me. That's what I believe.
Thank you so much. So a cancer diagnosis can be devastating, and for the fact that it can affect anyone, rich or poor, young or old. There's no telling who it affects. And for some people, it's certain that they're not going to make it. But even though there's treatments now that can actually get you better, it's not always the case for most people. And I'm really glad that I got to speak to you today to hear about your experiences, and thank you for sharing it with our viewers. So I just wanna go back to the words of from the movie. I don't know if you've seen the movie Forrest Gump, where it says life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And sometimes what you get is something that might actually break you or try to break you. And I think the beauty in life is what you do with that experience. So I want to thank you so much for sharing with us. And I know that you're very strong. I know that based on your story, and you went through all of that, and then you're letting us know the lessons that you've learned, and inspiring people who may be going through what you're going through. Thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you guys for listening to Between Us.
Thank you. You're
Bye.
most welcome. My pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.